welcome to Math, Minecraft, and Computers, episode I11, Memory 1. I built a quick little constructor over here, which is simply 8 switches, which would represent the 8 bits in a byte, hooked to 2 lights. I have a light in the front, and then I have a repeater that pulls the weak power from this block into the next block over. That's why we have a repeater here. So when I turn the switch on, they both come on. This powers this, and then that pulls the weakly powered power out of this block into there. Now I did this just to illustrate. I can turn these on or off and however I choose. But what I would like is to be able to have a memory. So maybe I set a pattern like these two on, and then these two on down here, and that one off. So I have the 2 outer ones on, and then the 2 outer ones on here, and then we have all the 4 in the middle. And I'd like to be able to leave that, say, in the back row, but as you can see, as soon as I flip a switch, it changes. What I would like to be able to do is to be able to set a value on these front set of lights, and then move that value to the back set, and then be able to change these again without changing the back. And to do that, we need memory. We need to have a way for the circuit to remember something. And that is called a latch. So we're going to look at latches today. And we're simply going to go all the way over here, and we're going to switch to Logisim when I arrive to show you that we have different types of latches. We're going to take a look at Logisim first. And this is a simple SR latch. And so what we have here is we have 2 NOR gates. This one here and this one here. They each receive an input. This one is called R for reset, and this one is called S for set. And then they are connected directly to an output called Q and our Q prime. And then the other part that they do is they crisscross from here. So the output of this one goes into the input of here, and the output of this one, as you see, you follow it up here, goes over the input of there. So until now we've been doing combinational logic, combinatorial, where you simply the outputs, data flowed from the inputs all the way to the outputs. So the outputs were entirely dependent on the state of the input. Now you can see, as I do here, I can do a set here, and you'll see Q comes on. Now I can do whatever I want with set, and you see that nothing changes. The output over here at Q no longer matters on this value at all. So this can change, and it doesn't change the value of our output. That is very different than the logic we've been doing so far. As soon as we change one of the inputs, something changed on the output if the circuit was set up to do that. But in this case, you see that doesn't happen. Now if I come to the R for the reset and click it here, you'll see that Q goes off and Q prime comes on. Same thing here. I can flip this all I want, and it doesn't matter anymore. As soon as I hit set again, this one comes on. Now if you think of this as a single bit residing here, I'm going to get rid of this so that we don't see it anymore. And we'll say this is actually our bit value here. Now I have a value of 0 or unpowered or off, and I have a value now of 1. And so while I change this input, it doesn't matter anymore. What I've got is it's called this latched onto that value, and the reason that works is you actually have a feedback circuit here. So the output of one goes into the input of the other, and that is a feedback loop. So we've switched now to what is called sequential logic. The sequential logic is different in that you can create states. So this actually has a state where it's on, where it's now independent of this. As soon as I hit the R, then for reset, it goes to off. So this is a very simple memory circuit. I can turn this one on when I want to clear the bit or set it to 0. This one would be how to turn it to 1 or turn it off. Now to build that in Minecraft, now if you recall how to build a NOR gate in Minecraft, it's very simple. It's simply any sort of OR that we have, a couple of inputs. I'll put one here, wired together, a couple of levers. And then this would be an OR gate. So as soon as either of these is on, the circuit is on. To make it a NOR, we just replace that obviously with a torch on the side and then come out. Now, as soon as either is on, it goes off. Same thing this way. Doesn't matter. As soon as any switch is on, the circuit goes off. So that's a NOR gate. Now if you refer back to what we had created in Logisim, we have two of those, and one simply feeds into the other. The easiest way to build that in Minecraft is to point the two together, so use the gates, and actually have them face each other. I'm going to build one here. I'm going to come at least 5 apart. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go to about right here, and we'll make sure we have plenty of room. And this will be our inputs, just like this. Okay, there's our two inputs. And since they are OR gates, torch here, instead of the NOR gate, that will invert it. And there are other inputs going to come in over here. Now remember these crisscross. So this one is simply going to come here. And it can actually go right into here, like this. Now we want to do the same thing. This one needs to come out. That also means we have to elevate it. We have to do a bridge. Come over to here. And that one's going to go into this. And there we have it. So there's the two cross wires. Then of course we would have an output here. And we would have an output here. This would be Q and Q prime. Now when I go over to here and I hit this, that one comes on. When I come over to here, it goes off. So this then becomes, depending on how you want to look at it, this is our bit here, or Q prime, and this is Q. In which case, as you remember, this is reset. So we can put a sign down to say R, or reset. And here we have set. Just like we had before, when I press this one, you end up with the set. Now it doesn't matter what I do here. And when I want to reset it, turn that light off over there, I do it here. So once again, this is Q prime, and we will label it. And then this is Q. So we think of this as the bit that we store right here on this side. Once again, set is over here. Doesn't matter what happens here now, it's latched onto that value, and the same thing here. I think of that as reset, nothing changes, and now my bit is off. So that is the SR Latch. Now one thing you have to be careful with the SR Latch is if I turn them both on, you get to what's called an unknown state. In real circuitry, you no longer can predict the value of what your gate is going to be. You know, in Minecraft, we can just turn these back off. You can recover whichever was last one on. That is a situation that you can never do inside of a real circuit. So if I'm going to go to Logisim and simulate that, if I turn set on and reset, now we get to a situation where we don't know. Nothing's happened. So that is actually not allowed with the SR Latch. And so there were several circuits that came around to solve that problem. One of the ones we're going to look at is going to be the JK flip-flop. Now, the JK flip-flop was invented by a man named Jack Kilby in 1958 at Texas Instruments. He changed, instead of set reset, he changed it to J and K. This is what we have here. In this case, this is the NAND version of it. I have two NAND gates here. They are both 3 input. And I have 2 NAND gates here that are 2 input. And very similar, I have an input here to this one. I have an input here to this one. And then these two are tied together with what we call the clock. Now when I click this, it has 2 states. On and off, very much like these buttons. But what you can do in any simulator is you can turn your clock on like this. And now you'll see that it'll automatically do it on its own. Now we don't want to do that right now, and we'll talk about clocks later, but this is what we want for now. So as usual, I would set one of these, and I would get a value. Now, due to a problem in LogicSim, when I do that, you get all these red lines, which means the error. It doesn't properly simulate this, but it does give you a component. If you ever go down to memory here, you'll see a bunch of different components built for you. One of them is the JK flip-flop, and it's just like this. And there's the J and the K, and then there's the clock. So that is, this input is there, this input is there, and the clock right here is both of these. And then you have the Q and Q prime coming out here. If this worked properly in LogicSim, it would work very much like this. I could choose this and do whatever I want, and nothing changes until I hit the actual clock. And when it ticks, you can see it flips over. Now with that off, once again, I can change all I want. In fact, now I can change this too. It doesn't matter anymore. Until I turn this back on. So if I want to clear that, I simply hit the K input, and I click this, and now I'm done again. And now this can click, doesn't change anything. As long as that is off, I can click here. I can set the values here, it doesn't matter, we flash that value. Now in addition to the JK, it has one more feature. I can turn both of these on, the J and the K, which is something I could not do with the SR. It will simply toggle every time that this clicks. So I click here, and every time that changes from a 0 to a 1, but not a 1 to a 0, so 0, 1, it toggles back and forth. That's what a JK flip-flop does. I'm going to delete this and show you how this would look like with a clock running to it. I'm just going to drag this clock up to here, connect it up, and we'll turn it on. So every time the clock pulses, it goes from off to on, this flips. So that's the JK flip-flop. If I change the value of these, it won't take place until the clock comes on. You have to wait for the clock. Now, to build that in Minecraft, it's a little more complicated. Now, remember we needed 3 inputs for this, for the 2 bottom NAND gates. And it is easier to build an AND gate and invert it in Minecraft than it is to build a multi-input NAND gate. So if you remember, a multiple input AND gate looks like this. The inputs are here, this, and then we run wire across these. And we put the torch down here because it is an AND gate, and we'll have an output coming out of it. Okay, now those are AND gates. Now if you remember in the circuit, these two were tied together, like so. And we put a lever on them. That's an input. Then we had the J input over here. And the K input is here. Like this. So that's the beginning of our, I got that in the wrong place. That should be here on the middle inputs. Like so. So there's our J and our Ks. They go into AND gates. Now we have to invert this because these are supposed to be NAND gates. So here's our inverter. We got it on those. That's all it takes. Like so. Now we've inverted the signal. Now as you recall, those go into the NOR gates in the front. So we'll start over here and build our NOR gate, which as you recall looks like this. I'm using 3. So you need, these are NAND gates right here. So we built those. There's the 3 inputs, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The J and the K. So we've got that input hooked up, these 2 and that one. Now they go into NAND gates. So my NAND gates look just like this. Got a piece of wire out of here. And since they are NAND gates, I input torches up here. Wire between them. These are two input gates. One input is coming here. Now, as you recall, this input now needs to come over to this one, which is going to be that input here. So that's fairly easy to do. I just come out of there. And this is supposed to cross. If you look here, this one goes from here into there. And we have an input sitting right here, waiting for that. Which is right there. I think I'm going to move it one over. So that crosses there, and we also need the output of this one, which I'm going to put on this side. This needs to come around and go all the way. First of all, it's an output, but it also needs to feed back into here. You just come over into here. And then this is also our output. Now, there's the two crossed over. So this is the SR latch sitting right here. This one's output comes along here and goes into there. This one's output goes into this one. And then the last thing we need, if you look at this, is it's a little more complicated here. This output needs to come from this NAND and all the way back. So not only do we cross them here, this one goes to there, but it also goes to the opposing first gate. So that means we need to have a connection from this one, go all the way over, this is pretty simple, to here. And we can input it right here. Now, we also want to make sure this is one way. We don't want power coming up this. And it's a long distance, so we're just simply going to put a repeater there to make sure this is one way. Now we do the same thing here. We need this output here to go over there. Now there's a couple ways I can do this. I'm going to take the shortest route possible here and go right here. And that will let me come off of this. Once again, I'm going to make it one way by putting a repeater right here. Okay, there we go. Now, I think I will go ahead and elevate this up one to make it easier to see. So there's an output. Same thing here. And so there's our inputs. Now, if I did this properly, I should be able to click one of these switches, and then this one, and you will see that came on properly. Again, I can change this all I want. I can change this one all I want. You can see it back there. No change in the light. And I can flip this all I want. No change in the light. So if I flip this and this, they should switch. Now, the question is, why didn't they? And that's why I need to investigate what's going on. Go back to this diagram, you see that the connection comes off of this gate, the light. I've got it coming off the gate like so. So it should be off of this, not off of that. So as you see, that is the input from the other gate. So I've got this connected in the wrong place. Easy enough to fix. Take that off. And we need to come over this. Like this. Disconnect that. And rewire. And there we go. So I had that in the wrong place. So you come off this, that wire is the input from the other gate. Comes here, and goes over there. This one's input comes here, and it also goes back there. So now we've got this set. So once again, I can flip any lever, and that value in there is latched. You can see no change until I do this. Debugging about that is the piece of wire I deleted. There was no input to this gate. And so now when we do this, we set this, turn this on, and they flop. So that was the part that I did a little debugging, and I should not have deleted that. That is the output from this gate, which goes both into this and to there. Now to get that toggle, turn both of these on, and turn this on. Now you'll see that it is oscillating, going back and forth and back and forth, because I've left this switch on. And so if I try to time this, like this, I get my toggle. The timing's pretty critical, because if I wait too long, I get into a situation where it gets stuck. So this might be where we want to put a button instead. Now I've got a note button here, and when I click it, you will see that it works. But because the button is so long, it's 15 ticks, it goes back and forth. There, there. But it operates. You think, well, I might just go with a shorter button. So I'll delete that, and I will get another button, which is only 10. Which is actually any of these. Put it here. Now this is only 10 seconds, so watch what happens when I do this. 10 ticks, I mean. It's 5 and 5. And so it goes back. So you only actually need 5 ticks to operate this. And because you have an even number, it's actually ticking the circuit twice. So for this demonstration purposes, we can only use a note button or any device that is 3. Now we could build a 5-tick clock. I'm not going to do that, but you can just see it operates twice, and that's not a problem. But it does toggle. Alright, that is the NAND version of this. There's a much easier version to build in Minecraft. It takes a little bit less. I've got it here. In this case, you're using NOR gates up here. So once again, they connect into each other. The output of this one right here goes to the input here. The output of this one goes to the input here. But it also, instead of crossing over, like it did here, remember in the previous version, this one had to cross this wire to get to here. We don't do that. We simply come to the outside surface. So this is the easiest one to build in Minecraft. Now to build the same circuit that we built back here using the NAND gates, we're going to do it with the AND gates. This is a little bit easier to build in Minecraft, and it's a little bit smaller too. So we'll build our first AND gate right here. It's a 3-input AND gate, as you recall from the Logic Sim, so we have to do this. We want 2 spaces between these two, like so. Get our torches put on, the torches go in the inputs here. There. And there. Now for this one, I'm going to put the input over here. You'll see why in a sec. Now we just need to do our wiring. Coming all the way across. Coming across here too. And here. These two are tied together with an input. Start with a lever. There's the J input here. And the K input here. And just like last time, we're going to have an input coming from the side of this one here. Now take a quick look back at Logic Sim. You can see that these cross over like normal. And then they also go, instead of crossing with the NAND version, this one cross across this and then into here. you see it actually just comes down the side. So for both of these, so that's why it's a little easy to do in Minecraft. Not only do you not have the additional NOR gate, but you don't have the problem of the NAND. Okay, so all we need here is simply a 2-gate OR with wire across the top, and we turn it into NOR by putting that in place. We do the same thing over here. Torch and wire. Okay, so now we have our NOR gates. Now the input of this one, remember, here is the output of this one, and vice versa. We also know that the output of this one is eventually going to be our Q and our Q prime. So I will bring this over, and we will input it there. Okay, so we've got our connection going from here to here. Now we need to do the same thing there. And so we need to bridge that in this position to bridge the connection back to here. Which goes just like this. There we go. So now if you come up and look, you can see that we have the output of this, coming into this, and the output of this one coming into this. And the last piece we need is remember that this also connects over here. And then we have our output. We're going to make these elevated so they'll be easier to see. And then the same thing is here. And we also need to bring this output as well. Now we need to make sure that we have power at all the various gates. Make sure that they don't get too long. Okay, within the look, I've got this correct. Once again, our connections are J, K, these two are connected together. Those go to a NOR gate. The output of that NOR gate goes to the other NOR gate. There's the first one. This one crosses underneath the bridge to here. Then the output also goes back into the AND gate on each side. So with that set, I should be able to flip these and set them. So there we've set. I go over here. You can see this is operating now. Once again, I can change the value of any of these. And we've latched according to our data over there. And we have a problem somewhere. It is right here. That is losing power and not powering that gate. So we need to put a repeater somewhere. I just shoot to put it here. There we go. And now we have power to this gate. So we put a repeater there to get power to here. And now I should be able to come back here and choose which one I want using this. That one is set with this switch and this switch. Can't change that. Go to this one. Go to this one. Until I turn this one on and this one. And then see the flip. In the last case we had, of course, you'll see that changing this doesn't change any values. I have this one on and this one on. This should toggle. You see exactly the problem with one of these. Is that it is possible. It's a lever to get in this situation. I need an exact number of ticks here. So if I do this correct, you see it toggles exactly. Just like before, if you put down our button, you'll see that it goes twice. Now the reason why is because our circuit is fast enough you can see it toggling. This is where we have to go with the other button. Now depending on the length of how you built this, it sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. And you see in this case, it doesn't work with the button because we don't have the right number of ticks. So when we build our clock, we have to make sure that it's the correct ticks. So the only way we can trigger this one, you could modify this. You could add a little bit of wire and slow it down, or add a delay. And you could fix this problem, but in this case we have to operate with a lever. Just on and off like that. We need something fast. Now we can't do that in Minecraft. But that's another lesson. So there you have it, the two different types of JK flip-flops. Once you change the state of the circuit, if I turn this on, they'll just flip back and forth. You could slow the circuit down by clicking here. And that might give you enough energy. Let's try a button. Still not. We can try our other button. There we go. So now it's toggling. I've got enough delay in there added that this works. But you really ideally only want this to toggle one time. Earlier, like this. That is it. JK flip-flop. Once again, we have the basis of a latch back here. The set reset latch with the set back here and the R here. That circuit is both of these cannot be on. Here is the NAND version of the block. We have the AND gate being inverted there to make a NAND. Those go into two more NAND gates. They exchange inputs as well as exchange inputs with the two outer NANDs as it comes out of here, crosses the gate and goes there. And then we have the NOR version where we have a NOR gate here, a NOR gate here, and two AND gates. Once again, we'll look at those in Logisim. 2 3 input AND gates, 2 NOR gates, you get the JK flip-flop. The NAND version looks like this. It has 3 input NAND gate going to 2 input NAND gates. The 2 input NAND gates cross, and they also cross in the opposite gate over here, the NAND. That is it for Minecraft I11. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.